Travis Scott is not new to the world of controversy, and therefore celebrities warning the public about him is nothing new to him either. Not every music show is the same, but for Travis, he sought to make his show the most unique. His shows became known for their aggressive mosh pits, and more often than not, Travis would post about concert goers who injured themselves at his shows. Today, though, we're going to be taking a look at all of the warnings that we missed in regards to Travis Scott. For starters, we have to start with someone that had close ties with Travis Scott, but you definitely wouldn't call him a celebrity. Travis Scott's former manager, Shane Morris, actually tried to warn people about Travis a long time ago. For almost 2 years, Shane had been managing Travis and working with him to build him up in the music industry. However, early on when they were working together, Shane caught Travis trying to steal a bounce from a session that he and music producer Nelson London were working on. He had come to Shane's apartment in Beverly Hills and started screaming at him when he was caught and said, "I've got a meeting with T.I., Shane. I need that bounce. I need to show it to T.I." Shane explained to him that this isn't your music. If you're taking that session in, you need to go with Nelson because he did the majority of the production on that. However, perhaps the worst character move that Travis could have made wasn't stealing at all. It was not helping a friend when they needed them the most. This Shane guy helped Travis out so much in the beginning, but when he needed help, Travis dipped. Shane goes on to say that one night while they were in the studio having a party, music was playing, we were all having fun, and then I did what all epileptic people do from time to time. I had a seizure. You know what Travis Scott did? He left. He and his friend Tony left me. I eventually ended up at the hospital that night, but Travis couldn't be bothered. Then on top of that, when he recovered, Travis explained to him that he didn't want a manager that was going to be having seizures, which really set Shane off. He goes on to say, "I exploded. If there's one thing you don't do, it's use my disability against me as a reason to say I'm not worthy in my business." Travis Scott is the kind of person who discriminates based on disability. He steals from the musicians around him, then he manipulates people into thinking he did it all on his own. Piers Morgan was another person, though, that decided to weigh in on the Travis Scott situation. Piers is no stranger to giving his opinion on controversial matters. In fact, I'm pretty sure that's how he makes all of his money. But aside from that, Piers wrote a scathing article for the Daily Mail warning people about Travis Scott. The headline of the article itself takes so many shots at Scott and says, "Travis Scott has repeatedly given a snarling middle finger to the safety of his fans, and this deadly, predictable disaster is a direct result of his arrogant and shameful recklessness." In the article, Piers details the horrific accounts of the people that were actually in attendance for the festival, as well as taking shots at how Travis reacted to the news. In one clip from the show, Travis Scott can be heard shouting to the crowd, "I want to see some rages. Who wants to rage?" But then just moments later, he sees an ambulance enter the arena and says, "There's an ambulance in the crowd, whoa, whoa, whoa," before continuing to sing a few seconds later. This was viewed as something that only provoked the crowd to engage in more chaos, which led to Piers giving the warning to people that Mr. Scott's shocked disbelief of what happened was disingenuous, self-protective claptrap. His words, not mine. The interesting thing about this warning, though, was that he also brings up an incident involving Travis in 2015. If you didn't know, Travis Scott pleaded guilty to a charge of reckless conduct after urging fans to jump over safety barricades during Lollapalooza. Travis is quoted as saying at this concert, "All my real ragers jump the barricade right now. Let's go. Come over. I want chaos." And he got exactly what he wanted. Hundreds of fans stormed over those barricades and charged towards the stage. The only reason a disaster was avoided in this scenario, though, was because the safety officials at the event were able to act fast. The Office of Emergency Management even weighed in on what happened that night and said, "The performer played one song and then began telling fans to come over the barricades. Due to the security's quick response, the situation was remedied immediately and no fans were injured." Another person who had issues early on with Travis Scott was Kris Jenner. Travis Scott and Kris Jenner already were not in a good place. Now, this most recent incident is definitely going to be testing their relationship yet again. I don't think Kris is going to be acting very friendly towards Travis Scott after so many people threw shade at Kylie for attending and filming that ambulance that drove through the crowd. Back when there were allegations that Travis was cheating, a source close to the family told the press, "Kris is furious with Travis over his careless attitude with Kylie. Kris never sees Travis around, and when she does see him, Travis does not seem very present or engaged with the family." And now with his ties to Kylie affecting her business, it's pretty safe to say that these two won't be on good terms. Okay guys, coming in at number 10, we have Kylie Jenner. Not only has Kylie Jenner been accused of scamming her own fans, but she has also come under fire for being a terrible tipper. There have been 2 angry waitstaff members that exposed Kylie for leaving bad tips. One was a claim from a server in New York who said, "She was fine, but she tipped $20 on a $500 dinner bill. Do with that information what you will." With another claiming that they received a $2 tip from Jenner after delivering a $200 $250 order to her home. I genuinely think that most celebrities just do not understand how the tipping process works, although to be fair, most people that have never worked in the restaurant industry understand how they should be tipping. In North America, at least the rule is 18% of whatever your final bill is, but a lot of servers have to pay out a certain percentage from their tips, and that goes to the hostess or it goes to the line cook sometimes as well. So if you don't tip on that bill, the money is probably coming right out of that server's pocket. So on that $500 bill, she really should have been tipping somewhere in the ballpark of $90 to $100, not a $20 bill. Coming number 9, Gwyneth Paltrow. Now, it's one thing to not understand how tipping works, and it's another thing to fully know how, but just blame your lack of math skills on why you don't tip well. This is exactly how Gwyneth Paltrow tried to explain away her history of being a bad tipper. She once said during an interview that she even finds her children's school assignments to be difficult because of this, and added, "I don't understand math. There's so many things going wrong at one point, it's so frustrating." She went on to claim that her lack of math skills has even lost her job interviews. Well, thank goodness her acting career never depended on her math skills, and when it comes to tipping, if only there was some kind of magical device that we could carry around on us on a daily basis that had the ability to do basic math. That's the world I want to live in. In at number 8, Kendall Jenner. Out of all the Kardashians and Jenners, Kendall is perhaps one of the more low-key members of the family. However, that certainly does not mean that she doesn't act like an entitled celebrity from time to time. Back in 2014, she made headlines when she was accused by a waitstaff of getting upset over them not serving her alcohol. Apparently, she was underage at the time as well, so that's probably why they didn't do that. In a huff, though, she then left the restaurant without paying for her meal, a source told Page 6. Kendall got up and left and didn't pay for all of the food, about $60 worth, and without a tip. Then when she was confronted by the staff, they alleged that she threw $20 bills at them without even counting if it was enough to cover the bill, let alone the tip. Coming number 7, Ron White. A certain subreddit dedicated to bad encounters with celebrities really exposed comedian Ron White for his bad tipping habits. According to the thread, this server claims, "Ron White had a show across the street from the bar I worked at in downtown Denver. He came in with his posse and some girls and asked if he could sit on the patio. I said yes, and we proceeded to serve him for the next hour and a half. Until last call. They were the only ones there and they racked up a hefty bill. I brought them the bill, which was around $1,200, and they paid and left. When I picked it up, he had written 0 in the tip line. He didn't forget or mess it up. He wrote 0. Oof, I don't know, that's even worse. Coming number 6, Mark Zuckerberg. On top of recently getting exposed by a Facebook whistleblower, Mark is another entitled rich person who feels above tipping at restaurants. Even though he is one of the richest people in the world, Zuckerberg allegedly avoided paying what would have just been an $8 tip on a $40 restaurant bill. Although strangely enough, it wasn't the waitstaff that exposed the couple for skipping out on their bill. The owner of the restaurant actually was questioned by paparazzi after they somehow got their hands on Mark's restaurant bill and noticed the lack of gratuity. The owner defended Zuckerberg though and said that he and his wife were in a hurry, so they must have just forgotten to tip his waitstaff. They were really in love eating from the same plate of ravioli. Not sure how that adds to it, but hey, good to know, I guess. Coming in at number 5, Madonna. According to Business Insider, Madonna is by far one of the worst tippers in the world. According to a waiter at a West London restaurant, when Madonna was still married to Guy Ritchie, the pair left an $18 tip on a $400 bill, while another waiter claimed that she came into an NYC hotspot restaurant with a friend and failed to leave any tip at all. And these are just a few of the many bad encounters that servers have had with Madonna in the past. At this point, it might as well be a rite of passage for celebrity servers. Coming number 4, Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods may be an incredible golfer, but he could learn a thing or two about being nicer to the waitstaff. One angry waiter reported to the New York Post that when Tiger was in Las Vegas, he refused a tip, which forced a friend that he was with to become flustered and then tip for everything herself. His reasoning, they said, was that he apparently never carries any cash on him. The Miami New Times also claimed that he once took back a $5 tip he gave to a blackjack dealer while playing a $10,000 a hand game. His reason for that was that he remembered that he had already tipped the dealer. And whether any of these are true or not, Tiger's secretive lifestyle does allow for more gossip to spread because he usually never comments on allegations like this. So believe what you will, take everything with a grain of salt. Coming in number 3, Usher. This story is the definition of entitled celebrity. According to Business Insider, Usher loves to leave an autograph as a tip instead of, actual money. I really doubt there is a big market for Usher's scribbled autograph on a cocktail napkin, but he tries anyways. Another waiter also reported that Usher has a reputation of attempting to get other people to pick up a check, and when that fails, he tries to pass off his autograph as a form of payment. Currently, an Usher autograph is going for $28.72 or best offer. Coming number 2, Jeremy Piven. Another celebrity that enjoys trying to leave an autograph instead of actual money. Back in 2007, Piven allegedly popped into a high-class sushi restaurant in Aspen with 12 people and didn't even have a reservation. On top of that, after being seated and served, he reportedly told the manager while leaving, "Thanks for nothing." And as a tip for the hard-working waitstaff, he left a signed Entourage DVD. Again, according to that report, an enraged employee apparently threw the DVD at Piven as he was walking out. I'm guessing he intended on never coming back to this restaurant because the owner confirmed that Piven had been banned for this. An Entourage DVD. Who even has a DVD player anymore? Number 1 spot, Kirsten Dunst. Actress Kirsten Dunst is another person that has gained a reputation for being a bad tipper. According to one report, she failed to leave a tip on a bill that was just over $200. One waitress wrote about her bad encounter with Kirsten and said that she had run up a massive bill while dining in a West Hollywood restaurant. The waitress was flabbergasted when the manager ended up covering Kirsten's bill, and she still did not leave a tip from that. If someone is serving you, it shouldn't matter that the bill was paid for by the restaurant. Always tip. That doesn't mean that the owner is going to automatically tip their waitstaff, but she ended up losing out on that one.
And at number 10, Kylie Jenner. Kylie Jenner broke COVID rules multiple times over the course of the pandemic. One time was when she was caught going to her friend Anastasia Stassi-Kranikalu's house while the state's shelter-in-place orders were taking effect. They also posted pictures and made TikToks together, proving that they were not distancing whatsoever. Many fans found this hypocritical, as Kylie had said online to practice social distancing and stay home to curb the spread of coronavirus. Then Kylie decided to go to Paris while the country was banning Americans from traveling there. This trip was legal as it was for Kylie Cosmetics, but since Kylie brought friends along and took pictures all over the city, it seemed like she was doing some vacationing as well. And at number 9, Tom Brady. Superstar quarterback Tom Brady was exposed for working out at a public park while it was closed. Parks in Tampa Bay closed during the pandemic to stop the spread and to prevent crowds from gathering. However, it was revealed that patrol found Brady exercising alone at a park that was closed off to the public. Brady was asked to leave the park, which he did. After the news broke, the city of Tampa's Twitter account wrote, quote, "Sorry Tom Brady, our Tampa Parks team can't wait to welcome you and our entire community back. Until then, stay safe and stay home as much as you can to help flatten the curve." And at number 8, Josh Brolin. Josh Brolin was called out in the beginning of the pandemic for visiting his parents, James Brolin, and his stepmother, Barbara Streisand, despite orders to social distance. As a response to the backlash for breaking social distancing rules, he said, quote, "My father lives next door to us and we had a plan to go see them and not be near them. And that plan was broken and that's our responsibility." He continued by saying his actions were irresponsible, adding, quote, "It's hard to be honest sometimes. It's hard to be honest and say, maybe I messed up." He continued saying the backlash had made him realize his mistake and learn for the future. And at number 7, Evangeline Lilly. Evangeline Lilly got huge backlash after she announced on live that her and her family would not be social distancing because it was infringing on her rights. And this was right at the beginning of the pandemic when we were not sure how deadly that the virus was, which made the comments even more irresponsible. In the caption of the post, she wrote, quote, "Where we are right now feels a little too close to martial law for my comfort already, all in the name of a respiratory flu." When followers pointed out that she could affect other people's lives by refusing to social distance, she shared that she lives with her father, who has stage 4 leukemia, but said that she values her freedom over everything. Saying in a comment, quote, "I'm also immune compromised at the moment. I have 2 young kids. Some people value their lives over freedom. Some people value freedom over their lives. We all make our choices." But after even more backlash, Lilly posted a long apology where she said her comments were irresponsible and she thought she was making the situation more calm, but instead she was projecting her fears. And number 6, Madonna. If you saw my video on Madonna, then you know she's been traveling like crazy over the last few months. She faced backlash when she flew from the UK to New York to attend Stephen Klein's birthday party, according to Page 6. The party was also live streamed, showing tons of footage of everyone hugging without masks. To make matters worse, days before crossing continents, Madonna announced that she tested positive for COVID-19 antibodies, and she would be going for a long drive to breathe in all the COVID air. But since no data shows that the antibodies prevent people from getting the virus again, she was spreading misinformation. She also decided to spend the holidays flying to 5 countries in 3 weeks, while most of the world was subjected to travel bans. Halfway number 5, Iggy Azalea. Iggy Azalea was called out for having a manicurist come to her home while non-essential businesses were closed and non-essential workers were told to stay at home. Iggy decided to have a nail tech come to her home and do her nails, which started backlash on social media. It started when Iggy posted a photo of her fresh nails to Twitter with the caption, quote, "Getting your nails done and they turn out just how you wanted really does put you in the best mood." Iggy responded with criticism saying, quote, "If I want to risk having a worker in my home, that is my business, not yours." Then saying to another person, quote, "I haven't left my house, so if she did, that's my choice to stay here and be sick. Also, she's a nail tech, mask and glove. Relax, we weren't tongue kissing, I promise." In at number 4, Luka Jovic. Real Madrid player Luka Jovic was called out for breaking quarantine restrictions after traveling. After he flew from Spain to his home, isolation guidelines say to isolate for 28 days since he was coming from Spain, which had a high number of cases. But he was seen outside of his home before the 28 days was up. Jovic responded to the backlash on Instagram, quote, "First of all, I am very sorry that I am the main topic these days and that I'm constantly being written about, not the heroes of the crisis, doctors, and all the medical professionals." Then saying that he was not informed of the guidelines, quote, "It is very unfortunate for me that some people did their job unprofessionally and did not give me the correct instructions for how to behave in self-isolation. In Spain, I was allowed to go to the pharmacy and a supermarket so that I could get groceries that I needed, which is not the case here." But the response to that apology was not great, as the president later said that Jovic would be arrested if he was seen outside again. And at number 3, Rita Ora. Rita not only broke the law once, but twice. Rita decided to have a party to celebrate her 30th birthday at a Notting Hill restaurant with about 30 people. And to make matters worse, according to the police, Rita's team gave that restaurant £5,000 to break the lockdown rules for her birthday in November, which proves that she knew it was wrong but turned to bribery. Cara and Poppy Delevingne were also there. Rita took to Instagram to apologize, but days later, people realized that she'd broken another law, because before the party, she flew to Egypt to perform, and after she flew back, she was supposed to quarantine for 14 days in the UK, but instead she had that 30th birthday party only a day later, breaking isolation restrictions. And at number 2, Dua Lipa. Dua Lipa was called out for attending a party during the pandemic. This was after she posted multiple photos to Twitter of her out at a party, sharing pictures with her boyfriend Anwar Hadid as well as Jaden Smith. It was made worse when fans discovered the pictures were from a party Dua threw for her 25th birthday. Tons of her fans called her out in the replies of the tweet, with one fan posting a previous tweet from Dua where she said she didn't film a music video because of the pandemic. She also received backlash when she traveled to Mexico for a vacation. And finally, at number 1, Kendall Jenner. Kendall Jenner was called out online after she threw a huge Halloween party, and I was shocked at how many celebrities attended that party. The Weeknd, Doja Cat, Justin Bieber, and Winnie Harlow were all reportedly in attendance. At the time of the party, California state government only allowed gatherings of a maximum of 3 households. And the shadiest part was that Kendall put notes around the party that people were allowed to take pictures, but they were not allowed to post it on social media, because obviously Kendall did not want to get caught throwing the party. But that didn't even work, because the people that ended up posting about the party and exposing Kendall were her own sisters, Kim and Kylie. In an attempt to defend Kendall, her mother Kris Jenner said that guests had been tested on arrival. And even if that's true, we know that rapid tests are not very trustworthy.
Kylie Jenner and her sister Kendall are moving forwards with promotion despite Kylie leaving her personal social media on pause. The promotional video appears to be an older video, but it does still mark the first time that the Jenners have made a post following Travis Scott's Astroworld tragedy. At the event, 10 people ranging from ages 9 to 27 lost their lives during a crowd surge that took place at Energy Park in Houston. On top of that, hundreds of other concertgoers were seriously injured, with many in critical condition. Kylie was in attendance at the concert with her sister Kendall and daughter Stormy. According to reports and some fan footage, all 3 of them were at the very back of the audience in a VIP section, and when the mayhem began to unfold, they were safely escorted out. A lot of people took issue with both Kendall and Kylie making posts following what happened. Kylie was mainly dragged over her Instagram story of that ambulance driving through the crowd, and Kendall was called out for posting a photo of herself standing behind Travis Scott's main stage. A lot of the comments simply said, "Take this down," with others adding that it was insensitive for her to post something. Eventually, she did remove the picture, but now the sisters are trying to move forwards with promoting their brand. The official Instagram for Kendall and Kylie shared an old promo video, as I mentioned earlier, that shows the duo announcing that their brand will now be available in the UAE. In the caption, the account writes, "We are so excited that you can now shop #Kendall and Kylie styles in the UAE." And despite there being lots of hardcore fans in the comments that were excited about this new promo, some were not as happy. One user commented, "The fact that this is so low quality is sad. At least make a new video. LOL, they definitely forgot they had this line." And the sister collab company launched back in 2012 and was partnered with the retailer PacSun, which, funny enough, was also created by the sisters. So they did a collab together and then collab with the company that they started. Alright. However, someone else must have been behind this promotional post because both Kylie and Kendall have not posted on either of their personal pages. In addition to that, Kylie has not posted anything on Kylie Cosmetics, Kylie Skin, or Kylie Baby since November 5th. Who knows though, this may have been a way of them testing the waters to see if they could hop back on promoting their businesses. Because you have to know that just from association, both of their personal brands had to have taken a hit from this. Kylie especially has not been able to promote her various companies on her personal page, and that is definitely going to be costing her a ton of direct sales. Although Kylie flew back to Los Angeles with Stormi, Travis Scott is still in Houston as he attempts to sort out the mess that he made by continuing to perform after people needed help. We saw many videos from that evening, but one in particular was especially disturbing. There was a video of this woman who climbed up onto the side of the stage and was desperately trying to tell the cameraman to get them to stop the show. She repeatedly said that people were dying in the crowd, and all he did was just swat her away as he continued to record Travis Scott's performance. Despite chants even coming from the crowd of people wanting to stop the show, Travis carried on for another 40 minutes before the show was finally shut down. Within that time frame though, he and Drake are said to have amped up the chaos that was already overwhelming the crowd. After learning about what happened hours later, Kylie Jenner quickly published a statement where she expressed her grief over the lives that were lost and then tried to make it clear that she and Travis had no idea of what was going on. However, city officials are still investigating where the problem started in the crowd that soon turned to pandemonium. Houston police is also putting most of the blame on Travis Scott after footage emerged of Houston cops just casually filming the show during what they later call was a mass casualty event.
Britney have you had any communication? Have you guys had any communication?
No, we're not doing that tonight. I'm sorry.
No?
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Okay.
But I'm happy for her.
Yeah, thank you.
Now that Britney Spears is a free woman, she is truly letting everyone know how she feels about people, and in this scenario, things got a little bit messy. For starters, let's begin with what angered Britney. While Christina was at the Latin Grammys on Thursday, she was asked by a reporter about Britney's newfound freedom. However, the moment that she was asked this question, you can see in the video that she actually turns back to what must be her publicist or her manager to help her get out of this line of questioning. He interjects and says, "No, we're not doing that today." Then Christina awkwardly chuckles and says, "I can't, but I'm happy for her." Then she just immediately removes herself from the area. Britney ended up seeing this interview and posting it to her Instagram stories later on, where she said, "I love and adore everyone who supported me, but refusing to speak when you know the truth is equivalent to a lie. 13 years being in such a corrupt system, yet why is it such a hard topic for people to talk about? I'm the one who went through it. All the supporters who spoke up and supported me, thank you. Yes, I do matter." Now, this was definitely a bizarre way to handle that question, but the truth of the matter is that Christina had already spoken up about Britney's conservatorship back in June. On June 28th, Christina tweeted out a photo of them when they were younger and said, "These past few days I've been thinking about Britney and everything she is going through. It is unacceptable that any woman or human wanting to be in control of their own destiny might not be allowed to live life as they wish." She then goes on to say, "To be silenced, ignored, bullied, or denied support by those close to you is the most depleting, devastating, and demeaning thing imaginable. The harmful mental and emotional damage this can take on a human spirit is nothing to be taken lightly. Every woman must have the right to her own body, her own reproductive system, her own privacy, her own space, her own healing, and her own happiness. While I am not behind the closed doors of this very layered and personal yet public conversation, all I can do is share from my heart on what I've heard, read, and seen in the media." I understand Britney's response though. It's not like these two have had the best history. The pair have had a pretty rocky relationship since they both rose to fame as kids on the Mickey Mouse Club. On top of that, they were then pop star rivals in the 2000s. Despite Christina not directly responding to what Britney said, an insider told Hollywood Life that Christina was genuinely surprised that she was getting a lot of hate for this. Not just from fans, but from Britney as well. They go on to say, "They aren't close friends with each other anymore, but they still hold a history with each other that Christina feels she should still protect." To contrast what Christina said though at the Latin Grammys, Britney also posted an interview that Lady Gaga did while at the House of Gucci premiere. In the interview, Gaga said that Britney is incredibly inspirational and that she is happy we get to celebrate her freedom. On Twitter though, she even took it a step further and wrote, "I have loved Britney Spears her whole career. I looked up to her, admired her strength. She empowered so many people and still does. I couldn't be more happy for you today. You never deserved what happened. Thank God for today. You're a superstar and a superhuman being." Britney ended up seeing this interview and reposting it as well and captioned it with, "Thank you, Lady Gaga, for genuinely taking your time to say something so kind. You made me cry. I love you." And that's really all it would have taken for Christina as well. I realized she supported Britney on Twitter, but then why did she act so strange when asked about this in person? If that were my publicist, I would have told them to go 5 feet that way and chill out for a second while I finish answering this reporter's questions. However, if you watch the video, she actually seems to signal him over and then uses his interruption as a way out of it. Actor Isaiah Washington is claiming that Ellen Pompeo was paid to stay silent during the filming of Grey's Anatomy, and it allegedly has something to do with Patrick Dempsey being inappropriate. Plus, on top of that, Isaiah is accusing Dempsey of making racially charged comments while on set. I'm your host, Johnny Rogers, and I'm going to tell you everything you need to know right here on IO. Isaiah Washington, who played Dr. Preston Burke on the medical drama show called Grey's Anatomy, was initially let go from the show back in 2007 after a controversial run-in with Patrick Dempsey, where he was accused of using a homophobic slur. Although in a new interview, he spoke more about the, quote, toxic atmosphere on set. Plus, he alleged that he was used as a scapegoat to cover up the behavioral issues of his co-stars. He told Travis Smiley from KBLA Talk 1580 Radio, "Every single day I was a problem that was being reminded. You're number 4 on the call sheet, you're not the star of this show." He goes on to further explain how he was used as a scapegoat and says, "It was easy. I didn't know that it would stick to me so hard, but I found out why. It was an agenda to cover up for the toxic and bad behavior of many of my former castmates on that show. And on top of that would be Patrick Dempsey." During the time of this controversy in 2007, it was being reported that Washington had used a slur in reference to his co-star TR Knight. However, Isaiah has repeatedly denied these claims. These allegations by Isaiah Washington come after the recently released book titled How to Save a Life: The Inside Story of Grey's Anatomy. In that book, writer Mark Wilding revealed what he witnessed during the explosive fight between Dempsey and Washington. In the book, he says, "It was my episode. I think one of them had been late to set one day, and the other one then decided to pay him back by being late himself. Then it sort of exploded. They got into an arguing match, and then before you know it, they were physically fighting. I was standing there in Video Village. I'm like 6 feet 4 inches. I'm bigger than both of them, but I didn't really jump in right away because I'm like, I don't know if I want to get involved." Isaiah also claimed that Patrick Dempsey made some really racially charged statements to him while on set. Isaiah said that in one conversation he had with Patrick Dempsey, Dempsey said, "Isaiah, do you know that white men are the masters of the universe?" And in response to that, he asked, "Do you really believe that?" To which Dempsey replied, "Absolutely." There were also times where Dempsey allegedly got physical with Isaiah. On one occasion where Patrick was late to filming, instead of apologizing, Washington says that he got in his face and physically hit him 3 times. Now, in addition to all of this controversy, he also claimed that actress Ellen Pompeo, who played Meredith Grey on the show, took $5 million under the table that I have receipts for, he says, adding, "During the height of the MeToo era, to not tell the world how toxic and nasty Patrick Dempsey really was." However, he did not name who exactly paid her this money. Initially, before getting the role of Dr. Preston Burke, Washington had auditioned for the role that went to Patrick Dempsey. When speaking about why he didn't get that role, he claimed that Pompeo was the one who made the executive decision to not hire him for it. He apparently was later told by her that she turned him down for that role because she had a black boyfriend at the time and didn't feel comfortable with the plot, which is something that she actually addressed in the past. Back in 2013, she did an interview with the New York Post and said, "Shonda Rhimes, the creator, really wanted to put a black man in the mix. I didn't think they were really going to put an interracial couple on the show, and I didn't want him. It was too close to home." So there is definitely a lot more to this story because we still need to hear how Patrick Dempsey responds to this and how Ellen Pompeo responds to these claims as well. This just in, R. Kelly has been found guilty on all counts in his federal court case today in New York, and he could be going to prison for 100 years. I'm going to tell you everything you need to know right here on IO. A federal jury today has found R. Kelly guilty of all 9 counts of racketeering and sex trafficking. Prosecutors had accused the R&B singer of exploiting his fame for over 25 years to lure women and underage girls into his home. The jury was made up of 7 men and 5 women who reached their verdict after 9 hours of deliberation, as well as a 6-week-long trial that featured a lot of testimonies. As it stands right now, several media outlets are reporting that he is facing up to 100 years in prison. 20 years would be for the racketeering and 10 for each of these sex trafficking convictions. He is expected to be sentenced though on May 4th, 2022. For now, he has remained in custody after being denied bail back in October of 2019. Prosecutors for this case say that R. Kelly, whose real name is Robert Sylvester Kelly, had run a Chicago-based criminal enterprise for almost 3 decades. He repeatedly would target, groom, and exploit girls, boys, and women, all of which said that he had subjected them to extremely perverse and sadistic things. However, R. Kelly repeatedly denied any wrongdoing. The acts presented during this testimony were very disturbing and unsettling for many to hear. In fact, if I even mentioned some of the things he did on YouTube, they would just shut our entire channel down. Hence the reason you'll hear some of the words I'm saying get dropped out or bleeped or whatever. I'll do my best to describe some of these heinous crimes though. Some key allegations from the trial were that he knowingly gave people herpes, he coerced them into getting pregnant and then getting rid of the child, he urinated on victims, recorded their encounters, subjected victims to cruel punishments such as locking them in rooms without access to food, water, or the bathroom. And this would happen whenever they disobeyed his rules. He would even force them to write letters to their families saying that everything was fine, and he would routinely threaten threaten families if they said that they were going to speak out against it. This list also included an illegal marriage to the singer Aaliyah, which included obtaining fake IDs for her because she was only 15 years old at the time. Jacqueline Cassius, the interim U.S. attorney for the Eastern District of New York who prosecuted the case, said today, "Today's guilty verdict forever brands R. Kelly as a predator who used his fame and fortune to prey on the young, the vulnerable, and the voiceless for his own sexual gratification. What's worse is that Kelly had an entourage of managers and aides who would help him meet these victims and even keep them quiet about everything that was going on. This guilty verdict comes after 21 days of evidence was presented, along with 50 witnesses and hours of hearing countless testimonies. There is a lot more to this case that we would love to get into, but with the way that YouTube has been flagging a lot of our videos and just giving out strikes randomly, I think it's best that we end it right here."
Gabrielle Union is opening up about one of the hardest times in her life in her new book called You Got Anything Stronger, which is a follow-up to her 2017 book, We're Going to Need More Wine. This time she's getting more vulnerable than ever about her reaction to finding out that Dwayne Wade got another woman pregnant while they were on a break. And I'm going to be getting into all the heartbreaking details in this video. I'm Mackenzie, and make sure to subscribe if you're new here and want to see more. The actress got real in her book about her ups and downs with Wade, whom she married in August of 2014, including the highly speculated moment that she learned that he was fathering a child in 2013 to a woman that he slept with while he and Union were on a break. The news was made even worse by the fact that she was trying to get pregnant with Wade's child, but she was experiencing fertility issues that put a strain on their relationship. At this point, Wade already had 2 children from his first marriage. In her book, she wrote, quote, "To say I was devastated is to pick a word on a low shelf for convenience. I have not had words, and even after untold amounts of therapy, I'm not sure I have them now, but truth matters." In fact, when Wade broke the news to Union ahead of Xavier's arrival, they were trying for their own child. The couple got engaged following their brief split earlier that year. She added, quote, "The experience of Dwayne having a baby so easily while I was unable to left my soul not just broken into pieces, but shattered into fine dust scattering in the wind." She added that they tried their best to rebuild the relationship even with all the visible cracks. Months after this, while trying endlessly to conceive with no luck, she hit rock bottom. She remembered thinking about herself, quote, "This woman is such a failure, and she has the nerve to be old, and she has the nerve to have a younger husband, and she has the nerve to stick with a guy who had a kid with somebody else," basically taking her anger about the whole situation out on herself. She also wrote about the difficult decisions around having a surrogate carry her child. She wanted to do everything possible to carry her own child, but once they realized that wasn't possible, she needed to choose between surrogacy or no child at all. She said about the hard decision, quote, "So much of what made the decision so difficult was that if I didn't submit to a surrogacy, then I was convinced I needed to let Dwayne go. Even if he didn't want to, I had to let him find someone who could give him what he wanted. But I loved him." But Dwayne reassured her that all he wanted was her in his life. She didn't need to give him a child. But it's clear she put the burden of a child on her own shoulders. Ultimately, Gabrielle chose to go forward with surrogacy, and the couple welcomed a daughter via surrogate in November of 2018 named Kavia. But even though she now has a child with Dwayne and she feels content with how things worked out, she says she still has lingering doubts about herself as a woman for not being able to have her own child. She wrote, quote, "I can never know if my failure to carry a child put a ceiling on the love my husband has for me," basically saying that he might look at her differently because she wasn't able to carry a child. However, I'm hoping Dwayne has made it clear that that's not the case.